Hi. Hi. Today I thought I'd talk a little bit about resting without feeling guilty, which is which is a big thing for me. Um, and so I thought just do a little post on it, hopefully give you some tips and show you what I'm attempting to put into place in order to help that kind of rest situation improve. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you a little bit of story about me and my old habits and things that are going on for me right now. And then we're going to talk about why rest feels so hard. And talk about a little mindset shift, and then I'm going to give you a 3 step without guilt, like rest without guilt framework. So you've got something that you can put into place so you can rest without the guilt. So let me take you back to yesterday. And I decided that I really, really wanted to build the shelves under my stairs because since I moved into my house about 6 weeks ago, I have had piles of boxes there ready to be put onto the shelves once the shelves are there, but the shelves weren't there. So I decided to forget other jobs I had to do and to do the shelves. I wasn't sure if I'd get them finished, but I did. And I got myself all showered afterwards. And then I was like, I don't feel right. And anyway, I think I've pulled at least 3 muscles in my back, overdoing it and pushing it in my neck, and my neck around here and around the back. I feel like I'm in agony. I'm better now than I was last night. Last night, if you're in the house with me, you'd have just heard me going, "Oh my God," the whole time. So, yeah, that's what happened. Now, the old me, the one who felt they had to prove themselves all the time, would have decided that they were still going to push on and do the DIY tasks they had planned for today because they need to be done. I've got limited time, so I just need to get it done. But I am learning more and more to listen to my body and to prove that actually my true strength comes from being able to work in coordination with my body rather than just on the output that I have. Now, the biggest thing for me yesterday was I didn't even notice that I had a bad back until I was finished. So I was so focused on the work I was doing that I was overriding obviously all of my body signals, because there must have been signals there. I was just overriding it all because I was determined to finish these shelves. So that's something for me to learn, to listen, to tune in a bit more. And it's just worth mentioning because it's one of the things that I struggle with. It's when you're wired to measure your worth by how much you do, that's when rest can feel uncomfortable. So, me taking my rest today can feel very uncomfortable because maybe I'm not going to do as much. And then I'm going to feel like I've let myself down, or maybe I've let someone else down. And all those stories are going round in my narrative. And that is because I'm measuring my worth by how much I do rather than other more kind of real things, if you want, as to the time that maybe I give to people, or the love that I have, or the peace and the space and the connection that I'm building. So it's about understanding and reevaluating what your worth is, and that can help as well. So that's the main reason why rest feels so hard, is that belief that value equals output. And it comes down to, funnily enough, in our book group, in my group, The Sacred Pause, we've been doing The Seat of the Soul, and we were doing the first chapter yesterday. And that was all about how our value is determined by how much power we have. And it's the same kind of thing. Our output kind of shows our power, it shows what we can achieve and where we can go, because we're measuring everything by something external to us rather than what's going on internally. And so you kind of get into this pattern of proving. So it's pushing through pain, pushing through exhaustion, doing more, because our need for external validation is so great. Our need to achieve things externally is so great. But actually, what happens in the end is we end up presenting those tasks. We struggle to get back to doing things because it takes a long time to recover. Or ultimately, we end up in full burnout because we're not listening to what's happening in our bodies, what we're being, the way we're being led, and everything is being ruled by what we can achieve, which all is external. So we need to kind of shift the narrative so that we're actually focusing on internal, authentic power, doing what's right for us. and redefining what rest actually means. So, rest is not actually doing nothing. It's a form of active alignment. So if you can actually think of it like that, I'm not doing nothing. I'm actively aligning with what my body, my soul, my spirit wants. And that can make a huge difference to how you're viewing it. And listening to your body is a form of progress. You could say it's a form of deeper evolution, because you're moving from getting your evidence and validation externally to moving internally, and you're getting your evidence for what you need to achieve and where you need to go and what you need to be doing internally. And that internal message is what gives you the biggest achievement and power and understanding of yourself that you could ever dream of. And it allows us to say, and this is one of the things you can do with your mindset, is you're aligning your actions with your capacity. And that allows you to build long-term resilience. So it's actually a long-term strategy, because yes, doing lots today is going to achieve a lot today, but what's it going to do for you next week, next month, 2 years' time? What's going to happen to your body? What's going to happen to your mind? How are you going to feel? What's your mental health going to be like? And all of those things are worth considering. So when you say, I'm just aligning my actions for long-term resilience, then you're seeing that actually you're playing the long game, that life is a marathon, it's not a sprint. So you're kind of saying, okay, right, I'm preparing for this marathon so I can just keep going to the end, and I'm not going to collapse a quarter of the way through because I've run like a nutter and I can't cope anymore. Just be know from experience, if you do that, it really hurts. So that's kind of like the whole idea about rest, about shifting the mindset around it. But it's kind of like all very easy to say, or this is the way you need to think about it. But when we're in the moment, it can be really, really hard to do the things that we need to do, to listen to the body, to understand the rest. And so it's about having a practice that you can put into place, that you can come back to whenever you need to, in order to allow you to reset, to connect with you, and to do that kind of peace work. So this is my 3-step rest without guilt framework. And you start with step 1, which is noticing the impulse to push. And some people that have been working with me for years know that my number one thing is when you start, it always starts with awareness, because you can't change anything if you're not aware of it. So we have to constantly be shining a light on what our stories are, where we're at, what's happening. So it's listening to your voice. So that voice that says, I'll just get this done before I rest, or I just need to do this before I can rest. Or even when you're starting to rest, you're going, I can't rest because I've got to do la 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 la. And when those stories start coming in, it's noticing that you're starting to get those stories which are basically telling you you need to push through your natural urge to want to rest. So when you start to notice those things coming up, you can actually grab your journal. And if you voice journal like I do, you can just grab your phone and speak into it. But ask yourself, what does my body need? You might not want to do this out loud or write it down, but think about it. But sometimes it's useful to get it out, so it helps you to understand a bit more. So what does my body need? And actually take a moment to stop before you do that and just breathe deeply and tune in to how your body feels. Listen to the messages. Your body will speak to you. If it has something to say, it will communicate with you, and it's learning to tune in, to quiet down and listen to what your body is telling you. So ask, what does my body need? And then ask, what does my nervous system need? So this is starting to understand, like, where are you on your nervous system? Are you in fight or flight? Are you in rest and digest, so you're feeling chilled? If you're there, you're probably happy with rest. So are you in fight or flight, or are you in dorsal vagus, or are you in the freeze mode? So are you in fight or flight or freeze? And just starting to sort of like click into those and figure out which one you're in, because then you can allow yourself to take the actions that you need to take in order to give yourself the nourishment you need. And then ask yourself, what's the smallest aligned step I can take today? So even if it's just taking 10 minutes to sit down with a cup of coffee and notice your breath while you're drinking it, or a soothing cup of tea, and taking all the aromas and connecting with the drinking process, and just taking that break before you go on and do something else, that small action can start to reset the nervous system, reset the mind, and change the way that you are approaching rest, the way that you're approaching your tasks. And over time, that builds a stronger muscle for allowing yourself that space to rest. And step 3 is matching your energy to your actions. This is something I've been learning really deeply lately, and it's choosing what action to take when. So if you have a low energy time, now if you're a woman of a certain age, you're going through monthly cycles, there will be times in your cycle where your energy is really low and you just don't have the energy to do loads and loads of stuff. So when that happens, that's when you want to be doing your restful, restorative tasks and actually saying, do you know what? I can build a life around things so that it's more peaceful. Okay, if you have to go out to work, you still have to work, but then maybe when you're not at work, that's when you do the more restful tasks, that you allow yourself space to rest. You don't come home and be go at home, because it's going to cause you to be more exhausted. And like the perfect example of this would be with housework. So some people have to have the perfect house. And again, that comes from an external validation. So if you're in a low energy and you've been at work all day and then you come home and your energy is low and then you feel like I'm not worth anything if my house is not perfect, so I've now got to spend 2 hours cleaning my house in order to get that validation, then that's a story to rewrite, because you think, well, actually, if my house is not perfect, the world is not going to come to an end. And no one's going to actually suffer significantly. But I might suffer if I spend that 2 hours cleaning. So it's starting to readjust how you feel about these situations so that it's not you're just doing the same thing all the time. So then you want to think about your medium energy days. And we have a lot of these. So these are the days when you're not like super high energy, but you're just okay. And this is when you can do your lightly creative or admin type tasks, that kind of thing. So if you're running your own business, it's quite clear what they are. If you're not running your own business, you're looking after the family, or you're out to work when you come home, and when you're at home or even at work, because you're going to have different types of tasks, this is the day when you can start doing your admin stuff. We've all got that list of admin stuff that we need to do. It doesn't take a lot of energy, but it's really boring. So that's when you've got some energy, but it's not like super high energy, because the super high energy we save for another time. But these are things that you can then just tick off the list. They're things you have to do, boring, got a bit of energy, I'm going to do them. And then when you've got high energy, that's when you do your biggest output projects, the things that are going to need the most energy from you. So you might, and it depends how you view it. So something like, say, go back to the example of cleaning the house. When you're exhausted, not great. Cleaning the house might be something you can do when you've got medium energy. And I often find that when I've got medium energy, I haven't got enough energy to do like something really major, but I've got enough energy to hoover, dust, mop, clean the house, because it doesn't take that much physical or mental energy to do that. So it's kind of like a middling sort of energy time. So the high energy for me is when I might do my big DIY projects, or I have an allotment. So medium energy day, I might just go and water and do 20 minutes weeding, not a much big thing. But when I've got high energy day, I might go and spend 2 or 3 hours there doing stuff and actually physically working quite a lot because I've got the energy to do it. Or work-wise, I might output loads of content because I've really got loads of energy, so I'm creating loads of stuff. And then I've got a bank ready for when my energy is low and I can take the time to rest because I've got something in the bank, basically. So it's about learning your own rhythms, and no one has one set rhythm. And I will say on these rhythms as well, they vary in the day. So this is you starting to understand, okay, when are my low energy points in the day? And this can come into effect wherever you are in your life, whether you're working, you're at home, you're running a family, whatever it is. When you have your dip, your low energy time in the day, that's when you want to rest. So that's when you're going to take your lunch break, you're going to have a pause, you're going to recover. And then you're going to have medium energy times. That's when you're doing your kind of tasks. And then you have high energy. So like For me, it might be in the morning after I've got myself together and ready and I have high energy output, so I can then do a couple of hours of really high energy intense work, and then I might have another high energy burst in the afternoon, and then I have 2 high energy bursts. Then the rest of it is pretty much middling energy, apart from maybe 1 or 2 dips, often when I first get up in the morning and in the middle of the day, where I need something quieter to do, and then in the evening before bed as you're winding down. So it's thinking about how you can respond to what your own body's needs are, rather than just pushing through with a flat way of working, because it doesn't work for anybody. We all have rhythms. So whether that be a weekly rhythm, a monthly rhythm, a daily rhythm, and you're going to have all of them. You're going to have a yearly rhythm. So times of the year when you've got more energy than others. And it's starting to tune into that and understand, like, when are you going to have the most energy and when are you going to have the least amount of energy, and adjusting your schedule and your tasks and everything around that. So those are the 3 steps. You notice the impulse or push, ask yourself the grounding questions, connecting in with the body, and then you match your energy to your actions. So hopefully you've enjoyed those bits. And just to remember that rest days are part of your rhythm, not interruptions to it. So a rest day doesn't mean you're not being a productive person. It means that actually today is a rest day, and then I'm going to have other days that are high energy days. So I'd love for you to share in the comments how you give yourself permission to rest, because that can be such a challenge for so many people. And just remembering to like and subscribe the video and help it to get out to more people. And if you'd like to spend more time going through this, discussing it, going deeper, then I'd love to invite you to join my group, The Sacred Pause. It's a free group, and you can come in and we can discuss. But until then, I will see you again soon.